Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in. A number of the monastics at Shavasti Abbey just returned from participating in the 18th annual Western Buddhist Monastic Gathering. I had spoken about it about 2 weeks ago on the purpose of it and where it's going to be held and why. And so we just returned, and I'm going to spend a few of the BBC sharing some of the experience that I had. And today I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time sharing about the community where we went, and also the importance of the sense of place. And how, for me, that was quite a powerful experience, the interface between the monastic community at Deerpark and the sense of place from just the location and the environment that it was located at. There ended up being, we had 41 monastics from a number of different Buddhist traditions. We had Vietnamese Zen in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh's practice. We had Soto Zen, we had Chinese Chan, we had Tibetan Buddhism, and then we also had Theravada. So it was a wonderful combination of many different types of practices. And the first thing that struck me, I want to share a few of these impressions, is that I had the sense of place for me, whether it's in a monastery or where I've lived all my life. Sense of place is very important because I think we have the capacity to sort of imbue the places that we live with who we are and how we care for it and how we live within that environment. And then when you interface it with the beings who dwell in that place, that also influences the experience of whoever comes. The Deerpark Monastery is located in the city of Escondido, about an hour, I don't know, it must be north, northeast, northwest of San Diego. And it is 500 acres of sky, rock, and the most diverse desert plants and trees that, I mean, I've been in the desert in my earlier years quite a bit, just a remarkable sense of natural space. It was originally owned by the military, and one of the volunteers that had been there for a while said that when they first came there, after Thich Nhat Hanh had purchased it, they spent quite a bit of their offering service picking up bullet casings on the environment around the rocks, and I guess it was some sort of practice or something for SWAT team or something in the military. So there are, and it was also used as some sort of meeting place for the Peace Corps, whether training or getting folks oriented and things like that. So there were quite a bit of existing buildings. And for the few places that I've gone to the monastic gatherings in the past few years, it seems like a lot of the monasteries are founded in these places that have either been abandoned or closed down. I mean, taking existing buildings that no longer function for what they were meant for, and then trying to renovate, remodel, repair them to bring them up to the function that, you know, the monastery would want to use them for. Ours used to be a single-family residence. Shasta Abbey's used to be a summer cabin resort. City of 10,000 Buddhas was a mental institution, and then this one was a military camp of some sort. So we tend to kind of utilize and change things. The label gets changed and the function gets changed. And that the monastery is located in a valley between two ridges. And it is so remarkable because when you don't know where it is, I mean, you're driving up a road and suddenly you come up and there are like little buildings here, little buildings there, but it's quite hidden in this valley. And when you leave the monastery, all the buildings are behind you, and you come down to the entrance and you turn around and you can't see it. It's like all you see are these beautiful kind of soft, gentle, rocky ridges with desert plants. It's tucked behind these ridges, so you wouldn't know. It's like it totally vanishes into thin air by the time you, maybe a 1.5 mile drive down this little road. And the buildings are set on three fairly steep levels. So to get from the gathering hall to the dining room to the meditation hall, you have to go down these pretty steep long stairs or take the long way around the road. So it's kind of built on these rock outcroppings. And since we're building Chenrezig Hall, and we've built a lot of things here at the Abbey, I'm continually fascinated by the architecture, the layout, the gardens, the roads, how things work. And so I was just as enchanted and enthralled when I got to Deerpark on seeing how they've kind of worked that whole, how they've used the land and what they had and what they've had to introduce to make it work. They get their hot water, their lights, and electricity from 3 large solar arrays that I saw a picture that Venerable Jigme took with me and Venerable Chuni standing next to one of these panels. It's a lot larger than I thought. I would give it an estimate as 60 feet long and about 20 to 30 feet wide. And they have 3 of these located on different parts of the property close to the buildings. And because they're in a warm climate and have sun most of the year, unlike here at Shrivasti Abbey, they don't have to store anything. So it comes right, I don't know how it works, the science of it, but they don't have any batteries. There's no storage. They use the solar power directly on a day-to-day basis, and whatever they have a surplus of, they sell back to the power company. Where if we were to set it up here, because we have quite a bit of gray, foggy days, we would probably have to have some sort of storage capacity of some sort. The environment is very simple and quiet and filled with garden, a beautiful lily pond, and bells, different size of bells. There are lovely calligraphied, hand-painted signs all over the monastery, but not like intrusive, not like over the top, and they say things like, breathe, you are home, take it easy, smile, please conserve water. The kindness of many people has provided this meal today, but they're on these beautiful kind of wooden or bamboo or papered kind of signs, and they're very gently placed over the place. I loved reading them. There's a dining hall that sits, once again, this is only an estimate, maybe 75 to 100 people. Very light and simple with a serving room for where you can serve yourself and a kitchen attached to it. Lots of windows. The meeting room was also kind of had a nice energy to it. It was long and narrow with lots of windows, probably fit, well, there were 40 of us, and we sat quite comfortably. And there was a beautiful white marble Buddha statue towards one end that had some lovely offerings sitting on a very, very large table. Their meditation hall was quite remarkable. Partially the shape of it, I don't know, they're called quonsets. I think in the military they used to house people in them, but they're shaped like a half of a ellipse quonset. Boy, I don't know, 100 feet long, 150 feet long, huge. Probably could sit 150 people, 200 people. Very simply done. They're cushion, zabuton, lined up in perfect rows, made of wood, stucco, glass, metal, copper. And what I found, it took me a while to get used to it, but I ended up really appreciating it. There's no Buddha statue in the meditation hall. On either end there are 2 stained glasses, one that has something written in maybe Pali or Sanskrit, I don't remember quite the words, and on the other side there's a stained glass of a Buddha with a disciple and like a mendicant with him. And then at one end, which is the main side of the altar, is this beautiful Ikaban rocks in the wood, like set into the floor. These beautiful, gorgeous flower arrangements. And in the middle, there is this sign that says, "This is it." And that's the altar. You really did want to just bow to that because you're home. You're home in so many ways. And you could feel the power and the strength of the practice in that space. Very clear, very strong, very quiet. But the shape of it and the huge, huge laminated beam ceilings, sturdy, I mean really, just grounded like an oak tree. You could really feel the presence of stability in that building. And so that, just the overall physical landscape left a very strong lasting impression on me. And as the days went by, these little nooks and niches that had some very, very beautiful, simple things. And so and then to interface that with the community, which in some ways embodies the same kind of feelings that I got from the environment. It is comprised of 14 nuns and 15 monks, Vietnamese or Westerners. So they have a number of, most of their nuns are Vietnamese, and their monks are Western and Vietnamese monks. And some of them were there for a number of years, and some have come from Plum Village or other monasteries around the world to support the Sangha there. They live as a family. They said that a lot, and they call themselves, and they called us, venerable brothers and sisters. The ages vary from the early 20s to, I think, the 80s. 83 was the elder bhikshuni. Mindfulness is one of the main practices and is embodied in the way they speak and the way that they move. So gentle, but very intentional. They speak very softly but clearly and don't interrupt each other. They let anybody finish a thought, finish a sentence. They wait their turn very quietly, gracefully, patiently. They have a clock that chimes in the lunchroom and some that are around the grounds. And when that chime rings every 15 minutes, whatever you're doing, whether you've got a spoonful of food in your mouth, whether in the mid-sentence, you stop. And you pause between 5 and 10 seconds and you just come back to the breath, come back to the moment. And that makes a huge difference in the energy of the gathering. It never got too loud or too agitated or too excited. We were invited to do Qigong after practice in the mornings before breakfast, and that was also helped to kind of bring the body awake, but not too much. They have a very simple diet, mostly vegan, with lots of vegetables, tofu, fresh breads, lots of fruit. No sugar, no dairy. The monks and nuns live in different areas of the property, but what is different from a lot of monasteries is that they're not too far from one another. They work together, they practice together 6 days a week, they cook together. They actually sometimes go on outdoor hikes and camping trips together, though they sit in the hall separate sides, the monks on one side, the nuns on the other. It all fits together in a very gentle way. The landscape, the architect, the food, the community itself as a whole and as individuals just interfaced and interwove itself together in a very lovely way. I found myself after the first day slowing down, speaking more softly and clearly, opening and closing doors and cabinets more mindfully. And we could really see how the community influenced the guest and how the environment influenced the guest. One of the trainings here at the Abbey, which we tried to replicate, not quite as successfully, but I think we have some success, is that the community holds the energy so that when guests come from their busy lives and their work and their school and the traffic, is that they come in and they can sort of bring their energies down so they can relax and get quiet in their minds. Rather than the community being influenced by the guests, the community holds the space. And so we do that here somewhat at a different level, but there you could really feel the community was so strong and clear in its friendly gentleness that, and partially it was because it was monastics who were showing up, it wasn't 40 people who lived in San Francisco coming up for a weekend. It might be a different experience, I don't know. But very, very much just held us all very beautifully. They have a warmth and a gentleness to them that is very welcoming and accepting, that really set the tone for the gathering. And everyone, without exception, acknowledged that as quite a very special gift of the Deerpark community that gave to the monastic gathering that had come to share for the week. So very much, I still feel it in my body, the sense of place, the sense of gentle friendliness, the acceptance, and the practice of mindfulness very much in my mind still, even after, since I've been home for 4 days. It's still very much present with me. So I just wanted to share that.